The morning shift at the Galactic Communications Center started like any other day, with hundreds of messages pouring in from across the star systems. Commander Tom Baker sat at his desk, watching the screens fill with updates from trading posts, scientific reports from research stations, and the usual stream of entertainment broadcasts that kept the galaxy connected. But something was wrong. "Hey, Lisa," Tom called to his assistant, pointing at one of the dark screens. "The Earth channel is down again. Can you run a diagnostic?" Lisa Martinez walked over and tapped the controls. Her face grew puzzled as she checked the readings. "That's weird. All the equipment is working fine on our end. Let me try the backup frequencies." She tried channel after channel, but every single one that should have carried Earth's transmissions showed nothing but static. For 300 years, humanity had been the most talkative species in the galaxy. They broadcast everything from their morning news to their children's bedtime stories. Earth never went quiet, not even for a few minutes. "Tom, I think we have a problem," Lisa said, her voice tight with worry. Tom stood up and walked to the main control panel. Earth's section of the communication grid was completely dark. Not just one or two channels, but all of them. Radio waves, quantum transmissions, hyperspace messages, even the basic emergency beacons that every planet was required to maintain. Nothing. "Get me Admiral Wright on the secure channel," Tom ordered. "Something's happened to Earth." Within an hour, the news had spread throughout the Galactic Council. In the great crystal halls of the Etherian homeworld, the shimmering beings gathered in concerned clusters, their translucent forms flickering with anxiety. The warrior race of Korthak stopped their training exercises to listen to reports from their intelligence officers. Even the scholarly Zephyrians, who usually cared only for their research, looked up from their books with worried expressions. Admiral James Wright of the Human Embassy stood before the council, his face grave as he addressed the assembled alien representatives. "We've lost all contact with Earth as of 0600 this morning, Galactic Standard Time. Our deep space monitoring stations confirm that Earth is still there, but they are not responding to any communication attempts." The Etherian Council leader, a being of pure light named Velnora, spoke in her musical voice. "In our 3 centuries of friendship with humanity, they have never been silent. Not during their wars, not during natural disasters, not even when they sleep. This is troubling." General Korth of the warrior race slammed his massive fist on the council table. "Perhaps they have finally destroyed themselves with their weapons. Humans are always fighting something." "No," Admiral Wright shook his head. "Our sensors show no signs of destruction. No explosions, no radiation, no debris fields. Earth appears completely normal from space. They just stopped talking." Dr. Helen Foster, the chief scientist at the Galactic Research Station, pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's recent transmissions. "Look at this pattern," she said, pointing to the data streams. "For the past 6 months, human communications have been decreasing gradually. Not in content, but in diversity. They stopped broadcasting their entertainment shows first, then their cultural programs, then their scientific conferences. In the last week, they were only sending basic status updates." "What does that mean?" asked the Zephyrian representative, his large eyes blinking with curiosity. "I'm not sure," Dr. Foster admitted. "But it suggests this silence was planned. They didn't just suddenly go quiet. They were preparing for it." Back on the communication station, Lisa was trying every trick she knew to reach Earth. She sent messages on frequencies that hadn't been used in decades, tried routing signals through distant relay stations, even attempted to contact Earth's moon colonies and orbital platforms. But everything connected to the Sol system had gone dark. "It's like they all decided to stop talking at exactly the same moment," she told Tom as she worked. "Even their automated systems are quiet. The weather satellites, the navigation beacons, the cargo ship transponders. Everything." Tom stared at the empty screens, remembering all the conversations he'd had with human operators over the years. They were always friendly, always curious about other species, always eager to share stories about their families and their lives. Earth's silence felt wrong, like a piece of music with a missing instrument. "Sir," called operator Mike Johnson from across the room. "I'm picking up something strange from the outer monitoring stations. The sensors near Earth are detecting unusual electromagnetic activity." "What kind of activity?" Tom asked. "I don't know. The readings don't match anything in our databases. It's like the entire planet is generating some kind of energy field, but I can't figure out what it's for." The news reached every corner of the galaxy within days. Earth, humanity's homeworld, had simply stopped communicating. The species that had spent centuries filling space with their voices, their music, their laughter, and their dreams had chosen silence. Some alien races began to panic. The Traders Union worried about their business deals with human merchants. The Academic Alliance mourned the loss of humanity's research contributions. Children of a dozen different species asked their parents why their human friends had stopped sending messages. But the most troubling aspect wasn't just the silence itself. It was the completeness of it. 8 billion humans, spread across an entire planet, with thousands of communication devices and millions of ways to send messages, had all gone quiet at once. That level of coordination suggested something much more significant than a technical failure or even a planetary disaster. As the days passed without a single word from Earth, one terrible thought began to grow in the minds of the galaxy's leaders. Humanity had never been quiet unless they were planning something big. And when humans planned something big, it usually meant they were about to do something incredibly brave, incredibly stupid, or both. The silence stretched on, and with each passing hour, the rest of the galaxy began to realize that whatever had caused humanity to stop talking was probably something that would affect them all. Captain Robert Harrison checked the ship's navigation systems for the third time in an hour. The joint fleet of 12 vessels from different alien species was still 3 days away from Earth, but his nerves were already on edge. In his 40 years of service with the Zephyrian Space Corps, he had never seen anything like the complete silence coming from humanity's homeworld. "Still no response to our approach signals," reported Lieutenant Emma Walsh from the communication station. She was one of only 5 humans in the entire expedition fleet, and the weight of representing her species showed on her young face. "We've been broadcasting on every frequency for 2 weeks. If anyone on Earth can hear us, they're choosing not to answer." Dr. Helen Carter, the fleet's chief scientist, floated over to Harrison's command chair. The elderly woman had studied human behavior for decades, and her usually calm demeanor had been replaced by obvious worry. "This isn't like them, Robert. Humans are the most social species in the galaxy. They talk to everyone about everything. My research shows they send an average of 4 to 7 million messages per day to other worlds. And now they send 0, Harrison muttered, staring at the star charts. "The Galactic Council thinks we're going to find a dead planet." The expedition fleet was an impressive sight as it traveled through hyperspace. The sleek Etherian vessels glowed with their natural light energy, while the massive Korthak warships bristled with weapons and armor. The scholarly Zephyrian research ships were packed with scientific equipment, and smaller craft from a dozen other species rounded out the formation. Every major power in the galaxy had sent representatives to investigate Earth's mysterious silence. In the mess hall of Harrison's flagship, crew members from different species shared meals and worried conversations. The stories they told about humanity painted a picture of a race that simply didn't know how to be quiet. Commander Veltar, a Zephyrian diplomat, spoke through his translator device as he shared his memories. "I was stationed at the human embassy on Zephyr Prime for 10 years. The ambassador, a woman named Jennifer Adams, would broadcast a daily message to Earth just to tell her family what she had for breakfast. She said it made the distance between worlds feel smaller." A massive Korthak warrior named General Stone nodded his huge head. "I fought beside human soldiers in the Outer Rim conflicts. Even when surrounded by enemies, they would crack jokes and sing songs. One of them told me that silence meant death, so they made noise to prove they were alive." Dr. Sarah Kim, a human xenobiologist who had joined the expedition, wiped tears from her eyes as she listened to these stories. "That sounds like us. We've always been afraid of the quiet. Maybe that's why we reached out to other species so quickly after we developed faster-than-light travel. We needed someone to talk to." As the fleet moved closer to the Sol system, the sensor readings became more detailed and more confusing. Earth's orbital stations were still powered and operational, but completely unmanned. The defense satellites that protected the planet were active but not responding to identification requests. Most strangely, the planet itself was generating an unusual electromagnetic field that interfered with deep scans. "It's almost like they don't want us to see what's happening down there," observed Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Brooks, the expedition's military advisor. She studied the sensor data with a frown. "These energy readings don't match any human technology in our databases." Dr. Carter joined her at the science station, her experienced eyes scanning the displays. "Look at these geological surveys. There's been massive construction activity across every continent. Underground excavation on a scale I've never seen before. It's like they've been digging out the entire planet." "Digging for what?" Harrison asked. "I don't know, but whatever they're doing, they've been working on it for months. These readings show construction that started shortly after their last major communication broadcasts to the galaxy. The ship's alien crew members began to show signs of anxiety as they approached the Sol system. The Etherians, who communicated through light patterns, flickered nervously. The Korthak warriors, who rarely showed fear, checked their weapons repeatedly. Even the logical Zephyrians seemed uneasy. "There's something else," Dr. Carter said quietly, pulling Harrison aside. "The few human colonies we've contacted on our way here have also gone silent. Not just Earth. Every human settlement within 50 light-years has stopped communicating with the outside galaxy." Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. "How many people are we talking about?" "Nearly 10 billion humans, spread across dozens of worlds and space stations. They've all gone quiet within the same time period. This isn't just Earth's decision. It's humanity's decision." Young Lieutenant Walsh overheard their conversation and approached hesitantly. "Captain, there's something I need to tell you. Before I joined this expedition, I received a message from my brother on Earth. It was just 3 words, trust our silence. I didn't understand what he meant then, but now it sounds like a goodbye," Harrison finished grimly. As the expedition fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, the sight that greeted them was both familiar and wrong. Earth hung in space like a blue-green jewel, apparently normal and beautiful. But the space around it felt empty in a way that had nothing to do with the vacuum between worlds. The orbital shipyards were dark. The cargo vessels that usually moved between planets sat motionless. The communications arrays that had once filled space with humanity's constant chatter pointed silently toward the stars. "My God," whispered Dr. Carter as she looked at Earth through the view screen. "What have they done?" The planet that had given birth to humanity's voice in the galaxy had chosen to fall silent, and somehow, that silence felt more ominous than any scream. Whatever was happening on Earth, the expedition was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength had always been their willingness to sacrifice everything for the people they loved. Even when those people weren't human at all. Major David Thompson's boots echoed through the empty streets of New York City as his mixed-species landing party made their way toward the massive construction site that had once been Central Park. The silence was unnerving. Traffic lights still worked, street lamps glowed in the afternoon sun, but not a single human could be seen anywhere. "It's like they all just vanished into thin air," whispered Dr. Sarah Williams, the team's archaeologist. She pointed to a coffee shop where newspapers still sat on tables, their headlines from 3 weeks ago talking about weather patterns and sports scores. "But look at this. No signs of panic, no abandoned belongings scattered around. They left in an organized way." Lieutenant James Mitchell knelt beside an enormous shaft that had been carved straight through the concrete and steel of the city street. The hole was perfectly round, about 50 meters wide, and disappeared into darkness below. "Captain Harrison, you need to see this. These tunnels are everywhere." Dr. Williams activated her portable scanner and pointed it down the shaft. "It goes down at least 2 kilometers, maybe more. The walls are smooth, almost like they were melted rather than drilled. And there are more of these openings every few blocks." The team's Zephyrian scientist, Veltar, extended his sensory tentacles toward the opening. His translator crackled as he spoke. "The construction is remarkable. These tunnels connect to form a vast network beneath the entire city. The engineering required for this project would normally take decades, but the metal composition suggests it was completed in only a few months." Major Thompson activated his communicator to report back to the expedition fleet. "Captain Harrison, we're looking at the largest construction project I've ever seen. Whatever humanity was building down there, they were in a serious hurry to finish it." "Any sign of the population?" Harrison's voice crackled through the device. "Negative. But we're detecting power sources deep underground. Lots of them. We're going down to investigate." The landing party used anti-gravity packs to descend into the tunnel system. As they dropped deeper, their lights revealed smooth walls covered in strange patterns that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. The air grew warmer, and a low humming sound vibrated through the rock around them. "My readings are going crazy," reported Mitchell, checking his instruments. "There's massive energy generation happening somewhere below us. More power than most space stations use." They emerged into a cavern so large that their lights couldn't reach the far walls. At the center sat a structure that defied understanding. It looked like a fusion of advanced technology and the planet's natural geology, as if someone had somehow connected machines directly to Earth's molten core. "What in the galaxy is that thing?" breathed Dr. Williams. Veltar's tentacles twitched with excitement as his sensors analyzed the structure. It appears to be some form of propulsion system, but the scale is impossible. This device would be capable of moving an entire planet. Major Thompson found a computer terminal that was still active and began accessing the stored data. His face grew pale as he read through the files. According to these logs, humanity detected something approaching from outside our galaxy about 8 months ago. They call it the Devourer Swarm. The team gathered around as Thompson displayed the data on his portable screen. The images showed a writhing mass of mechanical entities that consumed everything in their path. Entire star systems had been stripped bare, their planets reduced to raw materials that fed the swarm's endless growth. It destroyed the Andromeda galaxy completely, Thompson continued, his voice hollow. Then it crossed the void between galaxies, heading straight for us. At its current speed, it will reach the outer rim of our galaxy in 18 months. Dr. Williams stared at the horrifying images. That's why they went silent. They were preparing for this. But preparing for what? Asked Mitchell. You can't fight something that big with conventional weapons. Veltar had been studying the massive propulsion system while the humans talked. Now his translator buzzed with urgent tones. I believe I understand their plan. This is not a weapon designed to defend Earth. It is a weapon that uses Earth itself as ammunition. The team fell silent as the implications sank in. Thompson accessed more files, finding detailed calculations and engineering specifications that confirmed Veltar's theory. They've spent 6 months converting the entire planet into a guided missile. The propulsion system uses Earth's core as fuel. They're planning to accelerate the whole planet to near light speed and crash it into the Devourer Swarm. That's insane, whispered Dr. Williams. The collision would destroy everything. The planet, everyone on it, possibly even nearby star systems. Not nearby systems, Thompson corrected, reading further into the data. They've calculated the impact precisely. The collision will scatter the swarm's remains across multiple dimensions of spacetime, preventing it from regenerating. But Earth and everyone on it will be completely annihilated. Mitchell shook his head in disbelief. Why would they do this? Why not evacuate? Why not call for help from the galactic fleets? Thompson found the answer in a personal log written by someone called Chief Engineer Rebecca Foster. According to this, they ran simulations with every possible scenario. Evacuation would take too long. The swarm would reach inhabited systems before they could move even a fraction of the population. And conventional weapons, even our combined galactic fleets, would only slow the swarm down temporarily. It would adapt and continue. So they chose to sacrifice themselves, Dr. Williams said softly. Not just themselves, Veltar observed, his senses detecting movement in other parts of the vast underground complex. According to these readings, there are humans still alive down here. Millions of them, all working to complete their planetary weapon. The humming sound around them grew stronger, and lights began flickering on throughout the massive cavern. Somewhere in the depths of Earth, humanity was putting the finishing touches on the most desperate plan in galactic history. They were going to turn their homeworld into a bullet and fire it at extinction itself. And they had chosen to do it in absolute silence, so that no one could stop them. The underground complex shook violently as massive machinery came to life throughout Earth's crust. Red warning lights bathed the enormous cavern as Captain Michael Reynolds emerged from a hidden command center, followed by a dozen human officers whose faces showed the strain of months without sleep. You shouldn't be here, Reynolds said quietly, looking at the alien expedition team with tired but determined eyes. His uniform was wrinkled and stained, his hair unkempt, but his voice carried absolute certainty. We maintained communication silence to prevent anyone from trying to stop us. This is humanity's choice, and we're going to see it through. Major Thompson stepped forward, his voice urgent. Captain, you don't have to do this alone. The galaxy has fleets, weapons, technology we haven't even tried yet. We can fight this thing together. Reynolds shook his head slowly. David, I know you mean well, but you don't understand what we're facing. He activated a holographic display that filled the cavern with images of the approaching Devourer swarm. The mechanical entities writhed through space like living nightmares, consuming entire worlds in their path. The alien team members stared in horror at the display. The swarm was massive beyond comprehension, stretching across light years of space. Each individual unit was the size of a city, and there were billions of them working together with perfect coordination. We've been studying this thing for 8 months, Reynolds continued. We've run every simulation, tested every theory, consulted with the best scientific minds from dozens of species. Conventional weapons won't work. It learns from every attack, adapts to every strategy. The more you fight it, the the stronger it becomes. Dr. Williams pointed at the display with shaking hands. But surely there's another way. Evacuation, negotiation, finding a weakness. There is no weakness, interrupted Chief Engineer Rebecca Foster as she joined the group. Her clothes were covered in oil and coolant, her hands scarred from months of dangerous work. This isn't a living creature or even a traditional machine. It's a force of nature, like a hurricane or a black hole. You don't negotiate with it. You don't outrun it. You either stop it completely, or everything dies. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks grabbed Reynolds by the arm. You're talking about killing 8 billion people. Your own species. There has to be another choice. Reynolds gently removed her hand, his expression sad but unwavering. Patricia, do you know how many people live in our local galaxy? Trillions. Humans, Etherians, Korthax, Zephyrians, hundreds of other species across millions of worlds. If we don't stop this swarm here, all of them die. Every child, every family, every civilization that took thousands of years to build. The Zephyrian scientist Veltar extended his sensory tentacles toward the massive propulsion systems that surrounded them. The gravitational forces from your planetary acceleration will tear Earth apart long before impact. No one could survive such a journey. We know, Foster said simply. Earth has been converted into a guided relativistic projectile. We'll reach 97% of light speed before we hit the swarm. The planet will hold together just long enough to deliver the payload. Young Lieutenant Walsh, tears streaming down her face, looked around at the thousands of humans working calmly at their stations throughout the complex. But why did everyone stay? Why didn't you at least save some people? Captain Reynolds smiled sadly. We did. Our children and enough breeding population to ensure humanity's survival have already been evacuated to hidden colonies outside the galaxy. They'll be safe, no matter what happens here. But this project required every adult human working together. We needed 8 billion people coordinating perfectly to turn a planet into a weapon. The vibrations through the rock grew stronger as Earth's modified core began its final charging sequence. Status displays throughout the cavern showed green lights as system after system came online. The planet was preparing for its last and greatest journey. How long do we have? Asked Major Thompson. 2 hours until launch, Reynolds replied. We've been preparing for this moment for 6 months. Every human on Earth volunteered for this mission. We held a global vote, and it was unanimous. Dr. Williams stared at the humans around her, trying to understand how an entire species could choose extinction. But you love life. Humans are famous throughout the galaxy for your joy, your curiosity, your refusal to give up. How can you just throw that all away? Foster looked up from her control panel, her face streaked with sweat and tears. We're not throwing it away, Sarah. We're giving it as a gift. For 300 years, the galaxy welcomed us, taught us, became our friends and family. Now we get to return that kindness. Reynolds walked to the main viewing screen, which showed Earth's surface far above them. We've always been loud because we were afraid of silence. We reached out to other species because connection is what makes life meaningful. Today, we offer our greatest gift to the galaxy. Not our words, but our silence. Not our presence, but our sacrifice. The countdown displays around the cavern showed 90 minutes remaining. Throughout Earth's underground cities, 8 billion humans continued their work with quiet determination. They had said their goodbyes months ago. They had made their peace with death. Now they were focused on ensuring that their sacrifice would save everyone else. The alien expedition team stood in stunned silence, finally understanding the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Humanity wasn't committing suicide. They were committing the greatest act of love in cosmic history, choosing to die so that trillions of others could live. In less than 2 hours, Earth would begin its final journey toward the void between galaxies, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species into the darkness. The universe would never see their like again, but it would remember their gift forever. Admiral Catherine Blake stood in the primary command center buried deep beneath what had once been London, her steady hands resting on the controls that would launch Earth into its final journey. Around her, thousands of engineers and scientists worked at their stations with calm precision, each one a volunteer who had chosen to ride their world into eternity. All systems showing green across all continents, reported Commander William Gray from the main propulsion station. His voice was steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to do. Planetary structural reinforcement at maximum strength. Gravitational anchors released. Hyperspace field generators operating at full power. The alien expedition team had been forcibly evacuated to the orbital stations above, despite their desperate protests. Through the communication array, Admiral Blake could hear their voices pleading with humanity to reconsider, offering last-minute alternatives, promising that other solutions could be found. She understood their desperation. 3 centuries of friendship had created bonds that went deeper than species. 60 seconds to launch, announced Dr. Jennifer Adams from the navigation console. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice remained professional. Earth's trajectory locked on the Devourer swarm's projected position. Estimated time to intercept, 14 months, 6 days, 12 hours. Blake opened a final communication channel to broadcast humanity's last message to the galaxy. Her words would echo across the stars long after Earth had completed its mission. To all our friends among the stars, we came into this universe as explorers, not conquerors. We spoke loudly because we feared the silence, and we reached out because connection makes life worth living. Today, we offer our greatest gift. Not our voices, but our silence. Not our survival, but our sacrifice. Throughout the underground cities that honeycombed Earth's crust, 8 billion humans sat quietly at their posts. In the tunnels beneath New York, families held hands as they monitored the massive engines. Under the ruins of Tokyo, elderly grandparents shared final stories with holographic images of grandchildren safe in distant colonies. Beneath the streets of London, young couples embraced as they prepared their planet for its transformation into humanity's final gift. 30 seconds, Dr. Adams called out. The countdown displays throughout the command center showed the final moments ticking away. Every person in the room had volunteered for this moment, knowing they would never see the result of their sacrifice. Captain Michael Reynolds, who had spent months coordinating the global effort, stood beside Admiral Blake at the launch controls. "Catherine, it's been an honor serving with you. Tell me we're doing the right thing." Blake looked around at her crew, at the thousands of displays showing Earth's converted cities, at the images of the approaching Devourer swarm that would consume everything if they failed. "We're saving trillions of lives, Michael. Our children will grow up in a universe where that thing can never hurt anyone again. Yes, we're doing the right thing." 10 seconds, Adams announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blake pressed the launch controls. Reality twisted around Earth as the planet's modified core engaged, bending space-time itself around the entire world. The blue-green planet that had been humanity's home for millions of years shimmered and began to fade from normal space. The gravitational forces were incredible, but the structural reinforcements held. Earth was leaving the Sol system forever. On the orbital stations above, the alien expedition team watched in stunned silence as humanity's homeworld vanished into hyperspace. The planet simply faded away like a ghost, carrying 8 billion souls toward their date with extinction. Captain Harrison of the Zephyrian fleet pressed his face against the viewing window, watching the space where Earth had been. My God, they actually did it. They turned their entire world into a weapon. Dr. Carter stood beside him, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. In all my years studying human behavior, I never imagined they were capable of something like this. The coordination required, the sacrifice, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. Lieutenant Walsh, the young human officer who had joined the expedition, collapsed into a chair as she watched her homeworld disappear. My family, my friends, everyone I've ever known. She couldn't finish the sentence. Veltar, the Zephyrian scientist, extended his sensory tentacles toward the empty space where Earth had been. The gravitational readings are remarkable. They achieved 97% light speed almost instantly. The collision with the Devourer swarm will release more energy than a supernova. Across the galaxy, every species fell silent as news of Earth's launch spread through the communication networks. The Etherians dimmed their natural light in respect. The warrior Korthax stood at attention in their halls. The scholarly Zephyrians closed their books and contemplated the magnitude of humanity's sacrifice. On distant worlds, alien children who had grown up listening to human bedtime stories broadcast across the stars asked their parents why their human friends had stopped talking. The adults struggled to explain that sometimes love meant letting go, that sometimes the greatest gift was silence. The space where Earth had been remained empty, but somehow it didn't feel vacant. The solar system still contained the echoes of 8 billion voices that had chosen to fall silent so that trillions of others could continue the conversation. The sun still shone on the orbital platforms and space stations humanity had left behind, but its light seemed dimmer without Earth to reflect it. In the depths of hyperspace, Earth raced toward its collision with the cosmic horror that had consumed entire galaxies. The planet's surface was peaceful despite the incredible forces acting upon it. In their underground cities, humanity waited calmly for the impact that would scatter the Devourer swarm across multiple dimensions of spacetime, ensuring it could never regenerate. The universe held its breath, waiting for the flash of light that would signal both humanity's end and everyone else's salvation. The galaxy had learned to love humanity's constant chatter over 3 centuries of friendship. Now they would learn to cherish the silence that followed, knowing it was the sound of ultimate sacrifice. Earth was gone, but its gift would echo through eternity.